I'm John Tingatella with Humble Confidence. I really appreciate you being here today for our negotiation workshop training program. How do you feel about negotiation? Look at negotiation as a necessary aspect of business and life. Our objective is to preserve and expand a healthy business relationship or personal relationship through a negotiation opportunity. The significant majority of people have this expectation or this bias against going into the negotiation process. The good news, you have more power than you think. Realize the person on the other side is just like you. One rule, and there is only one rule that I want you to focus on as you go through your life in negotiation, is always start a negotiation with a win-win intent. Let's talk a little bit about today's agenda. We're going to break it up into 4 different segments. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the background of negotiation and why it's so present in our lives and so important. Secondly, we're going to get into this concept of preparation. And if you remember nothing from today, focus on that preparation section, because 90% of a successful negotiation is in the preparation. Thirdly, discuss some tactics. And fourthly, we'll actually talk about negotiation itself. Our objective. Take a look at this concept of negotiation. And since there's a basic reluctance in most people to dive into this, I'm going to ask you to take a different perspective. As a result of that, I want you to look at negotiation as an opportunity. Why is negotiation so hard? Why do people shy away from it? It boils down to this, folks. It's about managing your emotions. Because deep down inside, we really don't want to do it. The most significant barrier to successful negotiation is right here. It's managing our own emotions. In many cases, you'll be dealing with a negotiation situation where the person on the other side is going to ask for the world, and we say, there's a good chance they'll settle for Rhode Island. So I want you to tuck something away for future reference. When those emotions begin to get a hold of you, you have to back up, take a deep breath, and remember, now's the time to take a leap of faith, because you'll get there. We're going to do 4 things in a successful relationship. Number 1, we're going to separate people from the problem. And this goes a long way towards managing those emotions. Second, we're going to focus on interests, not positions. Interests, that means I've got a business, you've got a business, we both want to go like this and improve. How do we both do that as opposed to the fact that I'm here and you're there? Do number 3, we invent options for mutual gain. We did business like this in the past. We're going to do business differently going forward to help us do this. And last but not least, and this is absolutely critical in the New World Order, folks, we're going to use objective data and information. We're not going to just use gut feel and opinion and subjective perspective. Okay, let's dive into part 2, preparation. Folks, this is the most significant aspect of a successful negotiation. It's preparation. 90% of a successful negotiation occurs right here. And it also has the tendency to drill out a lot of the emotion. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Step 1, preparation. Start with data. From this point forward, all negotiations have to have a foundation in fact. The assumption is that we're going to use data, sales figures, whatever, that are truthful and honest. By creating that and putting that into the negotiation at the beginning, we now have a rallying point that is undisputed. Sales figures, purchasing history, costs, selling prices, historical trends. Whatever it is that's truthful and meaningful to the relationship needs to be brought back, and it needs to be reminded. Step 3, become the other side. By becoming the other side, we're going to put ourselves into the eyes and the shoes and the eyes of the people who are looking back at us. This is absolutely critical in understanding who we are and understanding their needs. Because as we mentioned before, this isn't about positions. This is about both of us increasing and preserving and increasing the relationship. So what I want you to do is pretend for a second that negotiation situation you identified a minute ago, pretend you're that person or you're that group, looking back at us. Pretend you're looking at our strengths and weaknesses through their eyes. And pretend you're them and what kind of backups and diverters they may throw at you in your upcoming negotiation. So the through the eyes of the other side experience, as I mentioned, means you take this template and for a minute you become the other side, looking back at you, trying to understand your strengths and weaknesses and what backups or diverters may get thrown at you. So everybody had looked like they were kind of diving into that template pretty good. So I'm gonna ask Otto up here in the first row. Just share with me some of the stuff you put down, and let's kind of talk about it.
Well, actually, I was dealing with someone who is very confrontational, very egotistical. I hate to say that, but he seems to think that he is the best, and he doesn't really doesn't seem to value what we have to offer. He doesn't seem to notice how important or how much we can actually help him.
Right. Are you the salesperson? Is he the buyer? Is that
yes.
Kind of okay? Good. Okay.
So we're selling remotes that can really help him pinpoint his position and what the things that he wants to discuss. But he doesn't seem to see how good we can be for his company. You know, it almost seems like he's caught up in how great he is.
Not uncommon. You have an adversarial person in a relationship, maybe expressing a little bit of leverage and power. Maybe the relationship is beginning to get a little out of balance. You're concerned that they don't, because of going through this experience and looking back at you, maybe they don't understand all that you're good at. Okay, knowing that now, give me some ideas of what you might do in the future to try and get the relationship back on track?
Well, honestly, we used to do training and demos to show, you know, how great our products are and what we have to offer that others don't, you know, and I'm thinking that we should go back to that, so that way it gives a better look at what we can offer that other people can't.
Great stuff. So essentially what Otto just told us is he's identified, by looking at it through the other guy's eyes, he's identified an imbalance. And he has essentially looked inside, probably on the our side sheet that he filled out, and said, we got to get back to the basics, which is re-educating our customers, because I have a feeling that this somewhat adversarial customer kind of drifted away, and I got to pull them on back. Great stuff. As you do that, the next time you're in a tough negotiation with this guy, if you have balanced things out, now you're in more merit or interest, because he realizes these guys are pretty good. Before I throw them out on the street for a lower price, I better dig a little bit deeper. It's great stuff. Number 4, invent options. The idea here, as we said earlier, preserve and expand the relationship. We do that by inventing options. If we came in over here, what we want to do is we want to end up over here. We both want to improve. The key for you, regardless of which side you're sitting on, is link the dots for both sides. Let's now move into part 4, the actual negotiation itself. First thing we're going to do is what the other side doesn't expect us to do, is we're going to listen. Don't walk into a negotiation immediately putting it all out on the table. Let's listen, let's inquire, let's verify. Very important. The emphasis here is that the other side has an expectation in their head. Let's try and figure out what that expectation is, and let's try and figure out what our relative position is. Last but not least, folks, this is where people fall down. We get all this work done. We've prepared, we've executed. We're right at the moment of truth. We don't like to do this in the first place, but you gotta ask. I want to emphasize, if there's anything you take from this program, number 1, in a negotiation, always use data. Secondly, you must prepare thoroughly. Go through those steps. Make sure you've looked at things through the other side. Your facts and figures are correct, and you're coming in with an actual plan. And last but not least, as I mentioned a minute ago, do not leave without asking. You gotta ask. Business is about channeling the power of ideas, people, and investments towards the ultimate goal of success. You decide what success is in your business, but you're only going to get there if you channel those powers.